The only death threats I get, the only hate I get in like a really serious way that's not just playfully trolling online is from people who have a problem with my views. I once tweeted that it was harder to come out as more right-wing than as trans. On the left, I get people that hate me despite being trans because of my views, and I'm seen as a traitor to the trans community. And on the right, I get people who hate me just because I'm trans. If you mix being trans with having a few right-wing opinions, it's shit. You get shit on by both sides. My name is Blaire White, I'm 24, I live in Hollywood, and I am a YouTuber. When I made my first video, I was actually in college. I was feeling a bit defeated because everyone around me in the college environment disagreed with almost all of my views, and I felt like I needed an outlet. So I uploaded to YouTube on a whim, and I woke up the next day and it had blown up, and ever since then, my life's been completely different.
It's not a popular opinion, it's not a politically correct opinion, but I've never been one for political correctness.
For a while on my channel, I was moving more and more right, and I think that showed in my videos. I think that when I started, I was more center, and then through the election, I got more and more right. I feel like in the current political climate, there's increasing pressures to identify as either all the way left or all the way right, and I think that it's a false dichotomy. I sort of identify more as socially liberal and then fiscally conservative. I think that these days to identify as conservative in any way means you have to identify socially as conservative, and that's just not the way that I roll. I'm not gonna compromise my beliefs on how people should be treated because I have certain more, perhaps, conservative views on how the economy should be run. It's frustrating to feel like, you know, I'll never be able to sit in a room full of leftists because of my beliefs, and I'll never be able to sit in a room with conservatives because I'm trans.
Feminism is not synonymous with women's rights.
Do you like puppies? Do you give back to your community? Do you hate white people? The people have expanded the definitions of bigotry and racism and homophobia and all this shit so far that really anything can be considered racist these days. There's an image problem with the left. A lot of conservative speakers would go to liberal college campuses and there would be outrage, there would sometimes be violence, protests. A lot of times it gets out of hand and people act really, really extreme in order to silence these conservative speakers from speaking at their school. It's been very easy for the right to say this is the face of liberalism. It's people freaking out, not wanting to hear dissenting views. If the left wants to win in 2020, I think the biggest thing they can do is to stop being so radically politically correct. Be willing to have a conversation. I'm trans and I have been able to have conservative speakers on my channel, whether to debate or have discussions with. Ben Shapiro, for example, who's very notoriously and has a reputation of being flat out anti-trans. If you and I were to go to a business dinner or any kind of dinner and you were meeting me at a restaurant and I was there first and I was in an orange shirt and you had to tell, you know, the host, I'm here to meet my friend Blaire, and they said okay, and you had to describe me to take me to the table, you wouldn't say the man in the orange shirt, you would say Blaire, you would say her over there.
You're right. If I were to walk into dinner and try and describe you, you look like a woman, therefore, to the person there, you know, I wouldn't be trying to explain who you were or your background because what's the point of that? But that's not to suggest the truth of the pronoun that I'm using to describe to the person.
The reason he was willing to go on my channel is because I'm not one of the people in the trans community that freaks out and screams and is so offended by him. I'd rather speak to him, engage with him, learn where he's coming from, still disagree with him on certain things, but have a conversation, and that's the link that's missing. Personally, I can't think of a single other trans person in media right now that could go on all the conservative shows I've gone on to have a conversation and open minds. One of the biggest reactions I've gotten on my channel is from conservative people who come to me and they say, wow, I thought being trans was a political thing. And what they come to realize is it's actually just who you are, and it's not political at all. You know, the basis of what I believe in is freedom, it's bodily autonomy, and to me, trans people are just expressing freedom and bodily autonomy. They're doing what they want with their lives, and I feel like anytime you're doing something for yourself that affects no one else, you know, altering your body to be trans, to live as a gender you want, you know, that's something that affects you, that has to do with you and your soul, and I don't like that it's so politicized. One of my most popular videos is one called There's Only Two Genders, and I made it just because I was feeling a bit frustrated that, you know, there's so many people willing to try to understand trans people, and the topic gets so complicated when people add thousands of genders. I think that what's realistic is there really is just two genders.
Just because you fail to be perfectly masculine or perfectly feminine doesn't mean that you have invented a new gender.
I think that one of the left's problem in normalizing and, getting people to understand LGBT people in general, especially trans people, is they often overcomplicate the issue. I feel like every other week there's some new letter added to LGBT, and I get it, like there's a lot of different kinds of people out there, but sometimes it gets to be a bit much. I think the fact that there's supposed to be, thousands and thousands of genders isn't really helpful. I think that no one actually identifies as any of those thousands of genders, but people like to pretend like people really do. That's giving such a gift to people who want to argue against trans people by saying, I don't have to believe this person identifies this way because this person identifies as a frog. You're always gonna find crazy people who identify as frogs, girl. I don't necessarily believe in this, born in the wrong body thing, or I have a female soul. I think I was born in the right body. I think I was meant to be Blaire White, the trans woman. I think it's a coping mechanism to use the born in the wrong body thing. I've never viewed myself as oppressed despite being trans. I've always seen the things that were in my way as obstacles to get over, not roadblocks. And I think that's something that more trans people could benefit from viewing it that way. People forget how easy it is in the first world, in the Western world. I get emails and messages from LGBT people in the Middle East all of the time saying, your videos give me comfort because if anyone found out I was trans, I would be murdered. Or if anyone found out I was gay, I'd be arrested.
I'm a gay person living in Saudi Arabia. Being gay is illegal here, and so is being trans. If you're found out, you can be arrested here, and the jails are not friendly to LGBT at all. I traveled to a European country to seek asylum because it's illegal to be trans in my country. I was arrested a few months before traveling because I'm trans, and the crime was violation of customs and traditions.
And so I think some perspective is needed on that issue for sure. The things that mean the most to me is when I get stories from people saying, I am 15 years old and I needed to come out to my parents as gay or trans or bi or whatever. And the way I was able to do it, because my family is so conservative, is through watching your videos. The fact that I can have any impact like that on people means the world to me. It's easy when you're sort of on my end to see things as numbers or screen names or comments, and you forget that it really is real people, and it's a lot of real people, and their lives and their opinions and things that happen to them can be informed by one video that I do. I am who I am. I think there's a huge misconception that I mean harm to people when I share my opinions, but I really don't. I'm just in a new space where I'm trying to show people more of who I am rather than living off of the controversy that I've caused in the past. I think that for a long time it was fun to be a bit of a shit stirrer, and I don't regret it because I got to where I am because of it. I look back at what I said 6 months ago and I'm like, that was wrong. I look back at what I said in the beginning and I'm like, wow, that's a different person. But now it's about, okay, I built the platform, what do I do with it now? And it's a really, really exciting time because I can try different things. To all the haters, I say, if you're convinced on hating me, then be convinced on hating me, but if you're willing to give me a chance, I'd really appreciate it. At the end of the day, I really am just a normal person trying to make content that makes people laugh or inspires them or makes them happy or makes them think. And you shouldn't take me so seriously because I really do not take myself seriously. I'm a tranny on YouTube, like it's not that deep.